Only 25th Amendment is asked.
The problem is to get the 25th Amendment is harder than impeachment. You have to get 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate.
So what do we do?
A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. That is the definition of genocide. Not a war, not a defensive war, but a literal bombardment, like Martians, attack us and we don't have a defense.
That was Alex Jones floating the notion of invoking the 25th Amendment to oust President Donald Trump from the White House. Alex Jones, who's not a Democrat, not a lefty, but is clearly very disturbed by some of Trump's posts on Truth Social, including the one where he threatened to end Iran's civilization. Now, that came prior to this fragile 2-week ceasefire with Iran, which I don't know if it's even gonna last another minute, to be honest. Like, all the updates I'm seeing give me a sense that this ceasefire is done already. But for the purposes of this discussion, let's focus on the 25th Amendment, because he's not the only one in favor of invoking the 25th Amendment. Similar calls started popping off on Sunday after Trump issued this unhinged Easter morning message on Truth Social, saying that Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing straight, you crazy bastards. Okay. He then later decided to threaten Iran's entire civilization, which implies that he was thinking about using a nuke. He says Tuesday will be Power Plant Day. And I'm sorry, you had others like the Iran embassy speaking out against that, which you would expect, right? And of course, he also said a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Now, luckily, he didn't make good on that threat and instead announced that the US and Iran would be entering this 2-week ceasefire. Incredibly fragile ceasefire, as I've said a million times already. But this is where things started to get serious in regard to the 25th Amendment. Take a look.
Trump, with this Iran war and the energy crisis and the PR disaster, I mean, the North Korean dictator doesn't talk like this. He talks like a supervillain from a Marvel comic. Marjorie Taylor Greene joined me this morning. We talked this morning, and she put out a post saying 25th Amendment. And yeah, we don't have the votes in the Senate and all the rest of it. And I don't think his cabinet's going to turn on him. But the point is it sends a very strong message of stop it.
All right, y'all got a 25th Amendment, this guy. This is not acceptable. This is like, he's got to go, bro. He's got to go. I'm getting messages from my Iranian friends who are saying, I'm freaking out, man. Is he going to nuke the country?
They're impeaching him?
Absolutely, for the war. For the war.
Because of the conduct of the war.
Well, he lied. He got us into the war with lies. And I mean, look at the trouble Bill Clinton got into with something that was totally unimportant. And they tried to impeach him, which was nonsense. And yet Bush got us into this horrible war with lies, by lying, by saying they had weapons of mass destruction, by saying all sorts of things that turned out not to be true.
I hope you enjoyed that compilation. That very last clip featuring now President Donald Trump dates back to 2008, when he was advocating for the removal of George W. Bush after he lied to the American people about Iraq allegedly having weapons of mass destruction. He lied us into a war, right? Which is what Trump just did when it comes to Iran, claiming that Iran had some sort of nuclear arsenal when no such thing was true. Anyway, lawmakers tend to agree, by the way. Not all lawmakers, unfortunately, but a growing list of members of Congress seem to want to invoke the 25th Amendment. Take a look.
If the United States Congress has any life left in it, every member of Congress and senator must be calling for Trump's removal today based on the 25th Amendment. He's threatening the entire destruction of a civilization. This is a moral crime. It is a war crime. We need to be demanding that Congress convene today, and we need to be invoking the 25th Amendment.
I'm sure you've seen Donald Trump's unhinged post from this morning. He is completely unstable and dangerous. Impeachment is the top priority. no more war criminal in the White House.
I think every single person in this country needs to be calling the phones of Republican members of Congress and senators relentlessly today. Like, of all of the issues that have come up over the last year, all have been devastating, but we are talking about the potential for nuclear war here. That is the language that Donald Trump is using, and we should not pretend that it's not.
Speaker Johnson, you need to call the Congress back into session. We need to put an end to this nonsense. This is dangerous. It's not the American way, and it has to stop immediately.
So those were all the reactions from, I'm sure you'll notice, Democratic lawmakers prior to the supposed 2-week ceasefire between the United States and Iran, which was announced last night. However, again, fragile ceasefire. And on top of that, the so-called ceasefire did very little to settle demands that Trump be ousted. So as Senator Ed Markey, who was one of the senators who called for Trump's removal, stated, this is on X, I'm glad there is a reported ceasefire deal with Iran, but we shouldn't be in this illegal war in the first place. I agree with him on that. And Donald Trump can't simply threaten war crimes with impunity. Congress needs to get back in session now to stop this war and remove Donald Trump. I mean, okay, let's pause for a second. What Ed Markey is saying there is so accurate. Just because he didn't follow through on carrying out the mass slaughter of 90 million people in Iran doesn't mean Trump hasn't done significant damage by throwing that threat out in the first place, which is why I made this point on the show yesterday. The whole notion of Western civilization has been dismantled. When you have barbaric threats coming out of a country that purports to value liberal democracy and wants to protect Western civilization. I'm sorry, threatening nuclear war while, taking the mantle of Western civilization makes me not like Western civilization. Now, of course, it's this perversion of Western civilization, right?
Did you know that the average employer has to sift through about 250 resumes just to find a single job? It's an insane amount of work and honestly a huge waste of time. Well, if you're hiring, here's good news. You can now review all those resumes and applications faster thanks to ZipRecruiter. We use them. ZipRecruiter has a new feature that instantly shows you the most interested qualified candidates first. And today you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/TYT. Look, their matching tech is so good that it finds the qualified people for you. But this new feature is a game changer. It actually bumps the candidates who are really excited about your job right to the top of the list. You even get a feel for their personality because they can tell you in their own words why they want to work for you. No wonder they're the #1 rated hiring site. Cut through the standard and get to the standouts with ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/TYT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TYT. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
I mean, I'd like to say it's a perversion, although we're the only country that's used atomic bombs in the past, of course. But the fact that we are living under a government that proudly threatens civilians, civilian infrastructure, that keeps bankrolling a pariah state, a genocidal state, a terror state like Israel. No one has done more damage to Western civilization than the United States government and its military-industrial complex and its relationship with Israel. After Hamas carried out October 7th, what we kept hearing Netanyahu say over and over again was, this is a war between civilization and barbarism. It's about time that we realize the barbarism has been coming from us. We need to sever ties with Israel. We need to engage in an arms and funding embargo when it comes to Israel. And yeah, I think that we need to do significant damage control because we have destroyed these countries. How many countries have we destabilized in the Middle East? on behalf of Israel. It did nothing for us, of course. So it needs to stop. And maybe invoking the 25th Amendment is the first step. But here's the thing. As Alex Jones stated earlier, he's correct. That's an incredibly difficult thing to accomplish. And in fact, previous efforts at holding Trump accountable have only made Trump more popular. So I don't know if invoking or attempting to invoke the 25th Amendment is going to work. What I do know is that the Trump administration, along with our relationship with Israel, is a huge liability for the American people. This isn't TDS. Okay, I would say the same thing if it were a Democrat in office right now. And in fact, I turned on the Democratic Party thanks to Biden and his handling of the genocide in Gaza. His handling of the genocide in Gaza was to fuel it, was to fund it, was to provide weapons for it. Joe Biden doesn't deserve to live in peace, given the war crimes he aided and abetted. So I'm very clear about that. For me, this is not a partisan issue. This is an issue of what we want to be as a country, how we want to be represented as a people. And I don't want to be represented as bloodthirsty war criminals. The American people are not bloodthirsty war criminals. Our politicians might be, but we're not. Now, getting back to this, according to Axios's Andrew Solinder, who has been keeping track of the lawmakers who are calling for the 25th Amendment to be invoked, well, there are 85 as we speak right now. The number could change, but as of now, there are 85 House Democrats calling for Trump to either be impeached or removed by Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. I'm going to read you some of the more prominent names. I'm not going to read you all 85. But despite what Cenk said on the show yesterday, I really want to make sure we clarify this. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has called for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. He didn't know at the time, so that's why that mistake was made. Representative Nancy Pelosi is involved. So is Ro Khanna, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Summer Lee, who I think is really underrated as a lawmaker. I think she's pretty fantastic. You have Representative Ayanna Pressley, Pramila Jayapal, Jasmine Crockett, Jamie Raskin, Robert Garcia, Eric Swalwell, and Richie Torres. And as you can notice, everyone in that list is a Democrat, which, it makes me disappointed. Republicans can be better than this. I know for a fact that they see the behavior of Donald Trump and they don't agree with it and they think that it's counterproductive. Then do your job as a member of Congress. Put your country before your party and do what's right. But so far, we haven't seen anything from Republican lawmakers in regard to invoking the 25th Amendment. By the way, invoking the 25th Amendment doesn't mean a Democrat is suddenly in power. It means that JD Vance will be president. Okay, so do with that information what you will. Now, keep in mind that everyone who signed on, again, they're Democrats, no current Republican lawmakers involved. However, there is a former Republican lawmaker who's been very loud about this, and that's former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who says that the 25th Amendment should be invoked. Not a single bomb has dropped on America. We cannot kill an entire civilization. This is evil and madness. Now, let's get into what is being done, because there are words and then there are actions, right? So Democrats are exploring two possible ways of removing Trump from office. Either through impeachment, which they attempted to do twice in his first term and failed because, Republicans had control of the Senate. You needed a 2/3 majority of senators to vote in favor of impeachment, and Republicans are terrified. I don't know why. Trump's popularity is an all-time low, but they're terrified. Section 4 allows the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president unable to discharge his duties and instead vest those powers and duties in the vice president. That's what would happen under the 25th Amendment, right? Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. The section might be invoked in the case that the president is unable or unwilling to declare himself incapacitated. Have you listened to him? He sounds pretty incapacitated. Congress can also determine by a 2/3 vote whether to permanently remove the president or to return the president to his duties. I gotta be honest, I see JD Vance's political future looking a lot like Kamala Harris's, because he's repeating her mistakes. Kamala Harris refused to show any daylight between herself and Biden when she was running in the election. And it seems like JD Vance is taking that same path, which I'm happy about. I think JD Vance is a warmonger just like the rest of them. I think these efforts to like launder his reputation as some peacenik is ridiculous. There's no indication he's a peacenik at all, at all, at all. Show me a shred of evidence indicating that he was really pushing for and fighting for peace. Don't believe it. He has only regurgitated Trump's talking points. He has only defended what Trump has done in the Middle East. So if he really cares about his political future and genuinely wants to position himself as an anti-war Republican, now is the time to do it, but he ain't doing it. Representative Sri Thandar from Michigan and Representative Jasmine Crockett from Texas have each sent letters to Vance and Trump's cabinet. Crockett writes that it has become indisputably apparent that the American public, or to the American public, that the president is deranged, likely suffering from dementia, and warns that he has brought the United States to the precipice of committing one of the largest war crimes in modern history. Crockett went further in condemning Trump. She condemned Republican leadership for enabling the president's actions, calling their complicity among America's greatest scandals, as the administration continues to push the country toward forever wars in the Middle East while ravaging the American economy and defiling the Constitution. Now, Jasmine Crockett's real good at attacking Trump. There's no question about it. I'll give her credit for that, I guess. We didn't forget your support for Israel. And Israel is at the heart of the forever wars in the Middle East. So removing Trump, she's super motivated by that. But she's not motivated to end the forever wars because she takes the AIPAC money. She goes on those Israel trips. And when she was challenged on this, she doubled down. She got real defensive. So it goes beyond attacking Trump for me. Way beyond attacking Trump, because again, this is not a partisan issue for me. I don't think this is a partisan issue for any good faith person who's been paying close attention to this issue. If Jasmine Crockett is being real about how she would like to stop the United States from engaging in forever wars in the Middle East, we need to sever our relationship with Israel. It's that simple. Is she willing to do that? We'll wait and see. But so far, there's been no indication of that. Now, 77-year-old Representative John Larson of Connecticut introduced articles of impeachment. So we'll see how this all plays out. You know, I'd love to say that I have hope that there will be any real change between now and the next presidential election. The only real change we might see is a change in who controls Congress, certainly the House of Representatives, possibly the Senate. But for now, I just feel that you need to get Republicans on board in order to make this happen. I don't just feel, I know for a fact. So if this is more than just theater and virtue signaling to Democratic voters, how about doing some work behind the scenes where you negotiate with Republican lawmakers and get them to agree to the program here? Otherwise, this is going nowhere. And I would like to see something actually happen. I'd like to see some accountability for once when it comes to what the executive branch is carrying out and bankrolling and implicating the American people in when it comes to atrocities in the Middle East.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.